Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers in association with Leaf Spirits. I'm Matty.
Good evening, I'm Colin.
Hello, I'm John.
How are you doing?
All right, mate.
I'm puzzled because I've just got OneNote pop up on my taskbar and I've never used it before on this computer.
OneNote's quality.
Yes.
I do like it. I do like it. I'm battery anxious, as you know.
Aye.
So for his YouTube guys, if you see me popping in and out of the meeting, it's because I'm switching devices.
So it is. Right, we're going to talk about John's article, An Exhibstential Crisis, Part 1, that he shared on Patreon and Hubwave with our subscribers. And it's basically just summing up how you're feeling about Hibs at the moment, John, in the wake of Nick Montgomery's sacking after you pretty much championed the case for sticking with a manager. So we'll get a bit more about your thoughts on that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, see when you have an opinion on something and you think, am I being a picky bastard here, or am I right to be annoyed about it or concerned? Take your mind back to February when it was AGM and Ben Kensell was pitching to the shareholders about the Black Knights investment, right? And there's a couple of things to bring up here. One of that are relevant. One of them was the fact that the accounts for that year were a shambles, and Ben and the former finance director Chris God reassured everybody that these were like a snapshot, like a moment in time, and next year's figures are going to be much better. The wage to turnover ratio was set at something like 80%, and they were like, that's back down to 60%, and don't worry about it. Pretty much everything's going to look much better when the next accounts come out. And if we go ahead with this investment, we'll see all this debt wiped off that we converted to shares for the Gordon family. And we're going to do this refurb of the famous five. We're going to have Behind the Goals come back. We're going to have this community hub. And we're also going to have a home for the women's team, a separate space for them. And we're going to build this indoor facility at the HTC for the first team to use, which was then going to free up other pitches for community use right out of the training centre. Obviously, the season didn't go to plan, and there was a Hibs first sort of event that I guess trying to get folk to renew or to get them on board with other, taking up other things. Or thank them, yeah. So they got like a meal and Ben Kensell was there. But one of the messages that he conveyed to the Hibs first guys, this is after the investment had been approved by shareholders and signed off, etc., and the money received, I gather. He says that because of the mess that the first team had been in, they had to scrap or shelve some of the infrastructure spend that they were going to do to focus on the first team. Now, from what I gather, and I've done some digging on it, I've not seen it confirmed officially, but a few folk who were there when Ben Kensell had this chat with him have confirmed it. So I'm going on that. Right, a couple of independent sources have verified it. The indoor pitch got parked, and why? I'm annoyed at that. Like, why all of a sudden do we not need that? And if you're focusing on the football side, keep that and didn't bother about the famous five or the safe standing. Do that next season. Like it seemed to me like to be contradictory to say that we're going to focus on the football bit and less than the infrastructure, and then can the bit of infrastructure that was to support the first team. And for me, it reeked of this short-termism that I've kind of criticised the club for recently. In that you go, right, we've obviously identified a need for it, Black Knight, so I've identified a need for it and happy for the investment to go towards it. The current facility is no fit for purpose. They've said that. Yeah, rather than spend on that, we've kitted out the Behind the Goals, we're going to sell it as hospitality, and you go, fair enough, that's going to generate income, but does it generate the income that Top 6 brings or European run brings that we've not had when we've not had those training facilities? Now, I get your opinion on it. Am I being overly fussy with that? And it's just be like, we should be happy that they're focusing on the team.
Who do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago here. I think when we first mentioned them, when we first talked about money and that coming in, I was like, spend it on the team, right? And then you made a point, and I thought, aye, you're right. And I've come round to it, and that we spend plenty on the first team. We're just spending it on the wrong things.
Mhm.
Get somebody to sort that out. This comes into the thing more about the argument that me and John, as I said before, despite sounding like we're disagreeing, are agreeing, in that it's not just the coach or the manager's fault. There's a bigger problem here, and that's the recruitment, how much maybe we're paying for players, the type of player we're bringing in, the lack of a strategy on the type of player, the style of play we want to have, or whatever it is that the problem is. We spend fucking plenty. Definitely spend more than St Mirren, Dundee,
Yeah.
that finished above us in the league, right? Who else finished above us in the league? Aberdeen, Motherwell, Kelly. Right, so did Motherwell finish above us?
No, Motherwell were below us.
No. But they're on par with us.
Well, yeah, only
So,
just, yeah.
Aye, so we spend more than all of them, and we didn't finish above them. So is more money the issue, or is it actually doing the right thing with the money we've got? And then just to say fuck it, right? See if we just keep on fucking it up for the next 2 years, then we've not got that money to do that infrastructure, so we're never getting that.
Aye.
Yet I believe that having an indoor pitch. So I heard you talking about it on the phone the other night. Helps with training in the bad weather and that. Right, you can practice stuff that in East Mains it's fucking cold and windy right for about September through to July. It's
Right,
fucking
August.
freezing, right? Aye. So you rarely get a nice day down there, right? Fair enough, that's fine, but the indoor pitch. But it's also, I was led to believe, a criteria for like elite academy status.
Right.
So, and I don't know how true that is, but I'm just for what just hearing conversations and stuff. So if that's that, then that means we can't have at some point an elite academy because we went fuck it. We need to spend an extra £8,000 a week on somebody that's not that good's wages for 2 seasons till we'll go fucking mass clear out, get rid of the lot, and do all that again and go through that cycle. And I say 2 years, probably 6 months, because that's how long we go. So we need to actually get all that shit right. But
Yeah.
but it's almost like we spoke before. When folks say, "What does it fucking matter about how much we're bringing in hospitality?" Well, it doesn't matter, but it's a different budget, and it should all be like there's different cost centres or however it'll be divvied up.
Aye.
It all comes out the top one at the start, but you should be looking at all different functions of the business. And we're just saying, fuck it, stick it all in the park. It doesn't matter if it's shite, because the fans will then stop moaning at us because we spent a fortune. They'll know, because if we're shite, they'll keep moaning.
What do you think, John?
Sorry, remind me of the original question. Was it, are you right to be annoyed?
Yes.
Or
So,
are you being picky about it?
aye, but also because there is an argument to say the right thing to do is park the infrastructure and spend on the first team, because that's where we're lacking at the moment, right? So it's just this. But I'm annoyed that it's short-term thinking. The fact that less than 6 months ago, in fact less than 4 months ago, we needed an indoor pitch. This was like a significant part of the pitch to shareholders to get the Black Knights investment through. And here we are, just into June, and they're going, no, doing it. And you say, well, what's changed?
Without trying to make this appear like a deliberate segue into the thing that I wrote about,
No, you go into that as well. It's fine.
I don't think you're being petty. I don't think you're wrong to be annoyed about it, because if you come away for just being so there is for the listeners, for the subscribers, there is a Existential Crisis Part 2 that I'm working on, and it should be out soon. But that focuses a lot on being a football supporter, just being a supporter of Hibs, and the type of supporter that I've been and how I came to be a supporter of Hibs. However, if in part 1 I kind of put like the grown-up hat on and look at Hibs and go, what the fuck is going on? Because I think that there are a number of failings. I think there's been a number of failings at the football club for several years now with the current people that are in charge. And what you're describing with regards to the artificial pitch being shelved and focus on the training pitch. Focus on the first team. it just feels like the result of previous errors that we've made. It's almost like we're still not learning lessons of the short-termism that you're describing. And how do you get beyond that if you have the same people in charge? And I mentioned it in the thing that I wrote. And by all means, like, have the club come out and tell me that I'm talking shit. But the board, in one of their statements, or sorry, I think the statement that came out in regards to Malcolm Mackay, if I remember correctly, was that the board identified that it needed, or the board had been working into carrying out the review, or carrying through the actions of the review, and it read very much like they'd carried out a review into themselves, and that's not the independent review that we thought it was going to be. And it doesn't fill you with confidence that what they're doing is the right thing to be doing, or that the investment that's coming in is being used, to Colin's point, in the right way.
I'd like to think we've got this the boy Pinto, is it? Pinto? I can't remember.
Yeah,
the guy the
president
top boy.
of sporting operations or something. Yeah,
Him and Malcolm Mackay should be going. No, Ben, that fucks up the long term strategy of the football club. That's how I would see that role becoming in. Now, Ben, you just said that to shut them up because they were moaning at you at night about the shit season. That's not how it works. What you need to say is, no, we've got a strategy, we've got a plan. We want to make the pitch better, but chucking an extra fucking million at it isn't got to another million in a black hole. That's basically what it would be.
Because you're right. It is that sort of, we need to do something to get the heat off. So say that, but having somebody come in and say, put the brakes on. I can you say that you're going to have to backtrack on that now, because even like the 5 million, the got or 5 and a bit million that the Gordon family converted the shares as part of investment at the AGM, Ben said that debt was run up chasing sporting success. They've already tried chuck more money than we've got.
Yeah.
At the first team, and it's not worked. So it goes back to exactly to that same point you made, Colin, and John as well. But it's not just the manager; there's something else that's wrong. I think that's why it's born. I'm glad I talked about it, because I put it on Hibsnet, and there's a couple of replies come back, and I was a bit, maybe I'm being fussing. I I'm on a bit of a downer on Hibs now, and I would try not to be. And so I was like, I'll ask the question, see if I'm being
What are the
fair.
replies disagreeing with you, like?
Listen, it's absolutely right to not have the infrastructure spend when you've got a team that's struggling as bad as we are, and I get that point of view, but I think we've done it, and it's gone wrong, and we're just going to repeat those mistakes, and then
it's
you're
like
never
a
going to have the
gambler
money.
chasing their losses.
Aye, that's exactly what it's like. That's what it feels like, and you just, for me, it's like, how are we going to get anything done at the club if you're always going, here's our strategy, and then as soon as you get a bit of adversity, you go, we're not doing that anymore, because we've done it with, but we've covered that. I'm not going to cover the old ground, but everything for the development team, with the type of manager that we're hiring to picking indoor pitches now.
Yeah,
you need to see something through, otherwise we're always going to be fucking in crisis. John.
And the football guys need to take control of the football side now, and get that out of the way. And to be honest, you said, so sorry to take John's time up, but that he said that he'll need to backtrack out of it. Aye, how many folk did he say it to? What, a couple of hundred folk that were there? Just say fucking, I've changed my mind. Get them back in. Tell them you changed your mind. Tell them you just said to shut you up because you were moaning at Rocky and that night. So we just said that to calm the room. Just tell the truth.
Yeah. John, An Existential Crisis, and I'll give you praise for the title. I enjoyed that.
I may have borrowed it from somewhere else. Like I don't give. I doubt that I've come up with it myself. I'm sure I've seen someone else use it in an article, maybe Massive Hysteria, something like that. So I suspect I've maybe borrowed heavily from someone, but don't remember who it is to credit them properly. If it was you, I apologise. It's a cracking title, and I've borrowed it. If you let me know who you are, I'll give you the appropriate credit. I don't know. I don't quite know where to start with it, to be honest, because I think the second part of the article is the thing that I wanted to write to begin with. But when I started writing it, I just went, "Oh, I'm fucking livid about everything. I'm so fucking fed up." And it's an odd place for me to be in, because as a Hibs supporter, I still think of myself as like this young guy who's in awe of his heroes, regardless who they are. You know, the
Yeah.
folk that play in, you know, in the green and white. Still loves going along to Easter Road, all that sort of stuff. But I think one of the things that we hear quite often in the press and for people at the club, there's people at the club that say, like, we're the custodians, like the club belongs to you. Hibs are a sleeping giant, you know, they could be the third force in Scottish football and all that sort of stuff. And then actually, even if you go back as far as like Dempster's time in charge, where we had that conscious uncoupling with Neil Lennon or whatever the hell happened there, we've just kind of lurched from, like you say, like period adversity to period adversity, sacking managers, chopping and changing short-term plans, never being fulfilled, or sorry, long-term plans never being fulfilled due to short-term like considerations or whatever. And I'm a bit fed up. And do you know, I think when we had the phone-ins and you know people were talking about like detachment from the club and what have you, I think I've got a bit of sympathy for them.
Mhm.
Like we did ask the question. One of the guys that's appeared quite often, Budgie, he'd mentioned in a group chat that he wasn't feeling detached. So we asked him what it is to feel attached. And I think this is maybe what started the brainworm of like having a think and you know putting my thoughts on paper. And I think one of the things about attachment is that I think there is something special about the football club, about Hibs, that brings people in, because I think it's not just about people that were born and brought up in Leith. Like we've got different listeners that have had different experiences becoming supporters, but there's something that keeps you going back. So when I hear people talking about that detachment, I think there's a thing that they're feeling detached from, like that experience, like the thing that kept them going along. So like I'll go along and like support Hibs and I'll look out for results, or you know wherever I happen to be in the world, like they will always be a big part of my life. But at the moment, like the running of the club, I feel is just really, really, really bad.
What was the trigger for you for that?
It was do you know, it was probably the trigger for writing it.
Oh, or just even like that, the awakening of that feeling. But because when we talked about, like in the run up to it, I think that we talked a little bit Montgomery and um, certainly I was advocating for making the change, right, to have him removed, and it wasn't working. This is despite having come from a point probably at the turn of the year where it was like, you need to give managers time. Where I think we were all pretty much on the same page with that, and I kind of was, I think maybe the first three of us to deviate from that. You stuck to it, John, and we had like heated but constructive conversations about it.
Yeah.
And then they did sack him. And I just wondered, like, if that bit, like, you've kind of fought the fight, almost like making a case for the club to do the right thing as you saw it, and then they don't.
Do you know, there's probably several factors. There were like the difficult conversations that we had in the podcast, I think were one of them, because, and I think it goes back to that kind of like green-eyed supporter, if you like, you know, the sort of the infant supporter. I'll always see the best in the people that play for the club or that are running, or sorry, that are managing the club. So when you see the manager or even the players getting the stick that they do, I find it really quite difficult because, like I say, like they are still my heroes, and that's kind of that's part of this like this crisis that I'm talking about. Because on the one hand, I'm like, I love these guys, and on the other, you've got a whole barrage of abuse and criticism being directed towards them. So some of the conversations that we had on Longbangers were definitely a part of it. I think, and without labouring the point about Montgomery, like the background that he had at Mariners, I thought was an excellent fit for what Hibs needed to do, because he had to, like, I'm not going to say that he built the club up, but he had a massive a massive involvement in the academy, before he went into managing the first team. And I think the Mariners have continued to do well this year. And I think that's got a lot to do with the groundwork that he laid. And I thought, if we have to go through pain to get to a better place, I am happy to do it, regardless. Because again, I don't go along to watch Hibs games because Hibs win all the time. Like, that just clearly doesn't happen. So there's something much, much deeper. So I'll be happy to take that pain. However, the folk in charge of the club aren't. And I think that's where there's some of the triggers for me, because, and I think that maybe relates to the detachment that folk are talking about, because it's like, I have a lot of, or the people that are describing this detachment, they obviously have a lot of love for the football club, but I think it's being tested to the extremes, like just how much you are prepared to go through in the hope of what, like, it's of something, I don't know, like, is it something changing? Like, what is it that needs to change? Because I think, and it's weird because, like, I'm sitting here and I'm talking about not wanting Hibs to, sorry, supporting Hibs isn't about Hibs winning.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel like we're being given the best chance of competing with what's going on at senior levels within the football club. And I don't think, and to Colin's point that he was talking about previously, when he said that we agreed about, like, it's not just the manager, I don't think that a manager going into Hibs just now, or a coach, or whatever role they happen to be given, has the best possible chance of succeeding, because of the amount of shit that's gone on in the last, let's limit it to 5 years, since Jack Ross was the first manager that was sacked by the current leadership at the club.
And Colin, do you see things changing? Do you know, like, we talked about this, not just the manager that's at fault, there's other issues at play here. There are obviously tangible changes that we've seen. So Malcolm Mackay's come in, Thiago Pinto above him. We will have a new head coach. Are those changes enough, do you think, or do you expect to see more?
No, I expect to see more. That's just people. That's just people in place. They actually, you need to see some kind of, and I know it's all a bit like corporate wanky stuff and that, but that's kind of what we keep talking about as being the good thing that the club do. So actually creating a strategy, communicating it, telling us what it is, telling us what the end is and how we're going to get there, the steps, the vision and all that, all the other fucking things that when you're at work you go, say, all the things, right? Because we need to kind of, like, we can't just keep going through the cycle of sacking managers, chucking their money at it, and we'll just go busting then. Like, and it can happen, right? We've seen one club go bust in our league. We've seen others go into administration, which is as close as. It could happen if we just keep tossing money at it. The Gordons at some point will go, I'm not fucking buying any more shares.
Mm.
So we actually need to, like, they're a bit of long term planning and no sacking managers every 6 to 9 months.
There was a line of thought, I think it was from HSL at the time, when the accounts came out, where there was concern that basically the spark for the investment. So it depends obviously on what version of events you choose to buy into, I suppose, without any of us really knowing the truth. There's a line of, as the Gordon family put it, when Ron passed away, they started to get offers for the club, which they didn't want to entertain, but that was kind of the route through which Black Knights eventually ended up at the table. The line of thought that was put forward by someone from HSL, I think, and I might be misremembering that as well, so take that with a pinch of salt. It might not have been HSL, I might have just been completely making that up. Was that the investment was sought out because the Gordons had reached a point where they're going, pretty much what you said, Colin, they're going, fuck this, we didn't really want to be chucking good money after bad to try and fix this. We're in a bit of a state, we don't know how to turn it around, we've just spent 5 million trying to get it sorted, we're going to have to take the hit on that, we need somebody else to come in and sort of share the burden with us. And you're right, that'll only last for so long, so you might have In an ideal world, you have the Black Knights to come in and go, well, over time we'll buy the club or whatever, and we'll keep putting money in, and it doesn't really matter how much we need to spend. But it doesn't look like that's the sort of relationship that we've got. So, um, finances have to be controlled. Folk, budgets have to be balanced and all the rest of it. So you can't just keep chucking money at it when it doesn't work.
It's
You need
funny
to
though,
have.
because under the last ownership with Farmer Petrie, we probably did complain that we're in a training centre, we're building the stand. Like, can we not just get money on the park?
Aye.
But the problem here is we're actually spending money on the park and doing it so fucking badly that now we're saying chuck more money at the park rather than and I'm actually saying no, fucking whoa, spend the money correctly and fucking, but we still need to do both for the long term. I think it's almost a balance between the two we need. Like previously, it was like we'd done too much infrastructure not off the park. Now we're probably doing too much money on the park and not enough on the infrastructure without. And I'll probably get criticised for saying that, but we're spending fucking plenty
Aye. John, do
wrongly.
you think it's just a case of how we're spending the money, or is there more to it than that?
I think see even if you look at something like the playing squad. So I sent you a tweet earlier. Here's a blast for the past for the listeners. Do you remember Tommy Block? And I think he signed for Hibs under it was in 2019, I'm sure. And you think, well, where is he now? And he's playing for like semi-pro for Dartford. And that's not intended to be disrespectful, because I think since then there's been a number of players that we brought in who have been kind of looked at as projects or development players, or players that maybe have a bit of potential and maybe they'll get into the first team or whatever. But you kind of fast forward to the present day and we've got a squad of, is it 40 plus, 19 of whom were out on loan last season and don't like they're going to impact the first team. And when I've described that previously, like I've described errors being compounded, how does the football club resolve a problem like a 40 plus playing squad and kind of whittle that down to what they need, plus bring players in? How do they undo that massive tangled ball of wool and get it back to like a single thread that they can move forward from? Because I think that ties into the conversation about finances and budgets and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the happy path, if you want to describe it that way, is just to pay everyone off. Pay everyone off that you don't need, but that's going to eat into the budget. So someone needs to be footing the bill for that. Plus, they need to be footing the bill for the quality replacements that we need. And I don't know that we don't see it yet. There just isn't the evidence yet to suggest that the people that are going to be responsible for recruitment are capable of making that change, because they haven't had the opportunity to make that change yet. But all the evidence to date says they're just going to make an arse of it again and waste the money again. And then you go back round to what Colin was saying about the Gordons and not buying shares, and suddenly Hibs find themselves in a situation where there is no more money and they're just kind of limping along. And I think the last time I think when you mentioned previously about this year, or sorry, this season under Montgomery, and it looking very like butchers. Like I think when you look at previous seasons when Hibs have been relegated, it's not just a one season thing. It's previous errors that have kind of culminated.
Totally. Mm.
So, like, to go to the point that we made, I think some of the points on the phone that we had on Thursday there, like, there's a little bit of concern about, like, if we don't do anything, like, I know it's a little bit if Manny had boss. So, like, the squad at the moment, if you look at it, you go, like, that's potentially relegation material. Hibs might make an improvement. Like, we might actually have a very good season next season. But if you look at the history of the football club and what's gone before, when we found ourselves in a really situation, it's poor management that has led to those relegations.
Yeah.
Like Alec Miller signing fucking Ray Wilkins, for example. Like, what the fuck was that? Opening day seasons with Paul Tosh and Lee Power scoring against Celtic. And I think this is the weird thing about, like, when I start focusing on the people running the club, I didn't really want to focus on that. But I think deep down, I'm actually pretty concerned about it.
So it's interesting, and I think we'll pick this up on extra time when we record it on Tuesday, because I think this feeds into um, kind of where I'm at with things, right, which is slightly different. And I think I feel like we've got like hit our lowest point, and we're about to kind of come out the other side of it. Like we've got these. Sorry, the timer's beeping away and shut up timer. There we go. I think I've sorted it. Sorry about that. We've got the people who made the mess have gone. We didn't care what we're doing. We brought in help for the review. We brought in Malcolm Mackay. With a view to sort of looking at the whole football operation and presumably changing stuff within that. The transfer window's not open yet, so I'm relaxed that we've not signed anybody. I'm relaxed that there's no communication that's gone out yet to say that the players are gone and there'll be players that come back. We've not hired a head coach yet, but I'm kind of relaxed about that as well because I think they need to take their time and get the right appointment. Because it would have been easy to rush in and go get Derek McInnes and chuck all the money at it, which would have been very, very popular. And for me, I would have been happy enough with that. Or to go immediately get to David Gray because he's in the building, he's going to get a chance, and again, another appointment I'd be fine with. Or somewhere in between, like go and find something different. I like the fact that Hibs have taken a bit of time with it and thought it through, hopefully involving Malky Mackay, hopefully involving Thiago Pinto, and getting that sort of like fresh eyes in on it. And then you need to give them a wee bit of time to get to work. Like they need to come in and the changes that they will make will only show on day one. They'll show like further down the line. You should see some immediate changes with some things, but we'll talk about it a bit more. But I think that's where I'm like I think we have hit the bottom and are going to come out the other side of it. And I'm kind of hanging my hopes on it, but there's no evidence for it yet. I think that's the problem with because there's no a lot of time between last season finishing when it was shit and the changes happening. Because like Malcolm Mackay only started yesterday officially. Um, so what realistically do we expect to have seen by now? No transfer window open, etc. So I'm almost like to keep your powder dry and then give them a chance to prove themselves. But it's hard because the evidence isn't good, is it? Like from what we've seen over previous years.
It's hard because I'm still very much in that first part of the article mindset, and the more that we talk about like the topic that you started off with about the training pitch, the more I go, oh, you fuckers, like what the fuck are you actually doing? And the question I'd ask on the back of that as well is like, why is it that the people that are making these decisions given longer in charge than the guy that's in charge of the football team? That to me seems wrong. Like how many
Aye.
critical errors do you get to make in the running of a football club?
And I think
That's a good question.
Aye, a very, very pertinent question. Right, we'll wrap up on at that point there. We'll kind of carry this conversation on into extra time on Tuesday for or Monday night for subscribers. If you want to see the articles that John and I and Colin have been talking about tonight, you could go on our Patreon. You can take a free trial there, so you can go and have a read of them without having to pay anything. If you like what you see, obviously stay longer. Subscribe. It's £3 a month or $3 a month, whatever it is, plus VAT. You can sign up. There's loads of good content there for you, or you can just join up on YouTube, but you'll not be able to read the articles there. Next week we're going to try something a wee bit different, right? A wee bit of fun. Now we would point you all to a very good episode down the slope last week where the guys talked about potential signings that Hibs could be making. Really good. Like the guys ken their stuff. Some really good insight that none of the three of us could pretend to have. So we thought we would have a bit of fun and kind of pick up Football Manager. We identified was it extra time last week? Or was it a normal episode? Extra time last week. We identified that Hibs probably needs 7 positions filled, key positions in the first team. So we are going to go between now and Sunday next week. We're going to go and attack Football Manager and try and find 7 Semi-realistic. We'll set some criteria around it. 7 semi-realistic players from the Football Manager database that we could recommend and build a team around. So we'll share our findings on Sunday. But we'd love for you to join in. We know there's loads of Football Manager enthusiasts as well that listen to the podcast. So if that's you and you want to join in, we'll stream it live on Sunday when we record. So come on with your picks as well. 7 players that we need. It was a goalie, 2 centre halves, a spectacular centre midfielder, a left winger, and a centre forward. I think we had maybe 2 centre forwards. I did it from memory, right? I might have to look it up, but
I have to rely on Collins, don't you?
I think that's right.
Aye.
We didn't.
I think it was. So go and have a look. Join us. Put your choices in the comments as we go through it. We'll pull them up on screen and we'll kind of compare them to the ones that we come up with. It's just a bit of fun. Obviously, no serious. We are neither kind of very knowledgeable with other leagues or Football Manager either, because I didn't really spend any time playing it. So, Colin, I think you played Football Manager since it was Championship Manager back in the day.
Aye.
Well,
It was about, I was just thinking that it was probably like 98, 99 or something.
superb.
Chapman, 97, 98. I once was on the verge of selling Patrick Vieira from Arsenal to Juventus for about 14 million. And in the following game, he broke his hip.
Gutted.
And I just hit save and never went back to it.
Just enough. Then I remember taking sick days at work to play that. You'd kind of start a game, come home from work, start a game, and then before you can, it was like 6 in the morning. You go, how the fuck has it got to 6 in the morning? We're playing this.
And that was before all the shite they've added in yet. For what I've read. Like, I've not played it. Back then, you just picked your team and picked some fucking pre-season friendlies and that. Whereas now it's like, fucking...
Got to speak to the press.
Inverted wingers and fucking stuff like that. Anyway, it's got a really good database for us to go and fuck about with, right? To try and find 7 good players. So I get involved with it. It should be a good laugh on Sunday. Just tune in and let us know who you've picked. Right, thanks for tuning in. But we'll be back, like I said, on Monday night for extra time, and we will see you then.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.